evening.
Good
Welcome.
evening and welcome to the best overall show. I'm not letting you say BO show, Joe.
The Bow Show.
The Bo Show, Faux Show.
What's going on, Cass?
Oh, I've enjoyed a relatively quiet week after a super major. What's going on with you, Joe?
Not much. Just polishing up the Drukari to get them up to snuff. I think I'm just about. I've got all the models done. Now I'm just going back. I'm like going to start redoing all my sales on the Raiders because they look like trash, and I want to make them pop a little more.
Yeah,
And I'm probably going to do a little freehand on them as well, and then hopefully that'll be
amazing.
where they're at. So they'll be major ready for hobby competition.
Fantastic. We love to see it. You and I were just chatting. We're going to play a TTS game. Get ready for that.
Yes, I've been
Yeah.
in a competitive hibernation chamber for the last since basically the data slate. I've played like 4 games, so
Well,
uh,
don't worry, my friend. We're going to wake you right up.
good. I'm ready to get back in the mix and start tearing it up and taking captives for the arenas
Good
because
man.
that's what we're here to do in the real space rig.
This is true. This is
What
true.
what do you got on the hobby desk here, bud?
So, just in preparation for Wet Coast, I'm working on getting the Vanguard list I've been running up and painted. So I finished my Dev Centurions and oh, I love painting these models. These were a treat because you got these big curvaceous, bodacious, thick surfaces where you can really play with the light. So I was having a lot of fun with that. Um, that's the sergeant of the squad, and my girlfriend's gotten a lot better at miniature photography as well. So she started using my actual display tray as the photo box. It's fantastic. So
Oh, nice. This looks fantastic. I love the line, like the reflection line going down the I don't know what armor panel that would be, the
yeah,
waist plate, the hip plate.
that sounds about right.
Yeah, how it's slightly off center. That looks fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's what I'm talking about. Like these, it's nice to break away because like you get kind of used to painting a Gravis Marine or a regular Space Marine or whatever. Like it's just shapes, right? And you're just illuminating the volume of a shape. So it's nice to kind of change up the shapes every now and then. And these guys give you a nice, big, chunky surface to really like get your blends in and painting those lines is always a little terrifying when you first lay down the first one, and start blending it back in and whatnot. But it's a test of bravery, and I definitely had fun with it.
I would imagine though that all the like servo arms and everything on the back of it are kind of a pain in the ass.
I mean, yeah, they can be. I definitely did them a disservice compared to the rest of the armor. Like it's a bit more your classic, metallic. And actually, I it's a shame he wasn't able to make it this week, but I owe Noah because I did his moist brushing technique
Oh,
on those. I cleaned it up a little bit with a bit of a enamel wash to give some of the definition back, but like largely a lot of the metals on the back are that. And I figured I like mixing the techniques too, because like those servo arm things are gonna be kind of like in my mind greasy metal bits. Like, they're operational. But the armor plates are what I imagine would be nice, polished, clean ultramarine standard armor. So I like a little bit of the. I mean, hell, look at my bases and look at my display tray, right? I like a little
hmm.
bit of the contrast between the gritty and the perfectly pristine, if you will.
Now you mentioned you put an enamel wash over it.
Yeah,
And could you elaborate on that a little bit?
yeah. So I actually use enamel washes. I've been using them more on like the majority colors that I use. So the blue, I have a dark blue and a black that I'll mix up. And normally you're supposed to kind of gloss varnish them. I haven't been doing that because I'll more or less like paint like a pin wash in. for that part. But for the metallics, I find if you use a really bright metal, like I use Vallejo metal silver, if you use a bright metal, you can just kind of take a black enamel wash and just load it over top like you would your null and oil. But the cool thing about enamel is if you add a little bit of mineral spirits to a makeup sponge or something like that, a Q-tip, whatever, after it's dried, you can kind of just like pat it off the higher edges so you can retain
Mm.
your highlight a little bit while giving yourself that shading in the crevices. That being said, I actually didn't do much wiping off in on these ones because I wanted to bring down that metallic look. You could just start with a darker metal, but in this instance, I was also trying to get ready for a deadline, so I was moving fast, and it gives it that nice gritty, greasy look.
Yeah, I mean, it looks great.
The only thing you have to be careful of is you can't lick your brush. I mean, you can. It's
Ooh.
just you're gonna have a bad time. You're gonna
Yeah,
have a bad time.
that's definitely something I don't do. That kind of grosses me out.
I'm a filthy brush licker, unfortunately. It's a habit I've been
Uh,
losing.
okay.
there's
And
yeah, there's another example of a not sergeant, but
who who
yeah,
are who are these guys in the lore? Are these like devastators that go in these suits or what?
no, they're like veteran space marines, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I think you start out as a either as an inceptor or a devastator. I can't remember which comes first, but there's like a rotation you go through as a space marine.
Okay.
What's funny is of the non-veteran variety, it's the intercessors that are like the ones that have done it all,
Oh, okay. Because
which
they're
you
the
would
flexible guys.
exactly like they've
Okay.
jumped into orbit with an inceptor set of armor. They've done the whole eradicator heavy weapon thing, so they can do it all. But yeah, Centurions, I'm not quite sure where they fit in the mix, but I reckon there's some sort of veteran because those Centurion suits are supposed to be very, very rare and expensive pieces of machinery.
Yeah, I'm surprised there isn't they haven't ever made a character in one of these.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of really cool conversions done where like they'll make a character, but a Centurion character that would be something really cool to see for like Imperial Fists. I feel like,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So yeah, that's about the hobbying I've been doing. I'm also working on the scouts now, just to get them done because I've got at the end of April I am going to Battle for Salvation teams with the rest of the Art of War boys. So
Oh, is that in New York?
that is in Nyack, New York. Correct.
Wow. Well, that's really exciting.
Yeah. So gonna be painting up to kind of just finish up the last of it, and be fully ready there. I think I also owe Jackson Thousand Suns, so I'm going to be working on those before I go too.
Ah, wow. So other than the scouts, this army's pretty much done.
More or less, and I mean right in time for probably a data slate to come out, soon enough
Oh
with Cal and
yeah.
everything. But
Do you think
this
Vanguard's
is,
gonna get dinged up in the data slate?
I don't think so. I mean, like it's been Noah says hi from Arizona. Thanks, Jess.
Hey.
Oh, we both clicked it. Um, Hi, friend. But yeah, no, I don't suspect that Vanguard's gonna get hit. It's like every weekend there's like one or two of us that are kind of like in the top 10 at some tournament. Um, but I think that what could happen is other Space Marine um, data sheets getting nerfed. That might splash over.
Okay.
But you never know. You never know with these data slates. I did not think that Vanguard was going to get slapped last time either, and we took a pretty heavy hit. Like, I lost a lot of points.
Yeah. Right. And I've
So
been.
show us these beautiful Drukari you've been working on, friend.
Yeah. So Dark Lances are where it's at. Although I have two units with Dark Lances and one with Heat Lances. because they only give you one dark lance in the box.
That's fair.
But I also think the heat lances are good because they're like 18-inch range, but they're melt with 3 and they're strength 14, which is good, especially when monoliths are running around everywhere.
Monoliths are running around everywhere. Strength 14 is a beautiful strength to be shooting a Satan, especially when you have Melta 3 and you're fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of agree with you there. I do not hate that, sir.
Yeah. I do wish they give you more weapon options though. I got the wings on because they only give you 2 bat wings per box.
Yeah.
So I had to buy like 7 boxes of scourges to do this, which is just so painful. But I made the
Jesus.
leaders with the little bird wings. So
I really love. Can you go back? I love how you do your feathers. Like when
thanks.
what's the workflow on that? I'm curious.
What do you mean workflow? Like
Like how
the
the process, the steps.
oh, um, I mean I just do them kind of like I do everything else. I start with the purple, and then I'll do. Let's see, I can't remember. Yeah, I did these. I blocked these colors in, so I just did base coat of purple, base
Yeah.
coat of green, base coat of uh what is that color called? It's
This is
somewhere over.
your not white,
Yeah,
right?
somber
Yeah.
gray. That's what it's called. And then I just go back and highlight it just like I highlight any other surface using a super duper advanced masking technique of my thumb.
That's that's how the real ones do it.
Yeah.
That's how you mask.
The thing you do have to be very careful with, well, it also helps wear gloves. So I was all out of my work gloves. So I was just using my thumb. You do start to build up a considerable amount of wet paint after doing this on your thumb for, several stages. So then you have to be careful you don't like roll it onto a part you've already finished and then,
Yeah.
you know, bleed the color over. But yeah, it's just a transition of 3 colors on each surface, and then just go in there with gently with the detail brush with the wash just to kind of make some shadows in between the feathers. And
Now, how is your detail brush looking? It's hopefully better than what I remember seeing the last time we did this. Because like I'm buying you
uh
brushes. If it looks like that, I'm sending you a pack of brushes.
you don't have to buy me brushes because I go through a new one probably like every two
Ah,
months I don't know why. I had the little like jar of the is it like the brush slime that's like supposed to
yeah.
keep it nice and clean. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but it's just ain't working for me.
We're
I think I dip my brushes too far into the paint pot, and then it gets built up at the base of the bristles
yeah,
over
you
time.
never want to let it touch the ferrule. That's the key question
Whoa,
for you there.
Professor Cass over here. What is that called? The
The
feral?
the ferrule. Yeah. Hold on. I'm grabbing a brush. We're doing this, Joe. We're doing this. So, little anatomy of a paintbrush. So this thing here is called the ferrule. And like if you look at a brush this small, right? Like this is what, a 000 Winsor Newton.
Yep.
Like this thing's a relic now. You can barely find them. Because like there's a
Oh,
sample for a shortage. So you need to not be reckless
whoa.
with your brushes, people. Yeah. Real talk. But you do not ever want to be dipping this thing into a paint bottle. So like what you want is your trash brush. Because your trash brush is gonna look like my trash brushes are cheap art store, like what it says on the tin, right? I don't care if paint gets in the ferrule on this one. So dip it in, put it on a palette, wet or otherwise, your call, dealer's choice. But if you, and this is something my painting teacher, who one of these days I'm gonna bring him onto the show, uh,
Yeah.
at bb underscore miniatures on Insta. You'll see why I'm even like reasonably good at painting if you go look at his stuff, because the man's amazing. He like beat that into me, and like
Mm.
anytime I would reach for the paint like pot with my actual brush, like I'd get us back, and he's like, "No, what are you doing?" Because that's like that's going to save you a lot of brushes and ultimately money in the long term, because you're going to be able to use those really high quality brushes for a lot longer. You're going to keep them clean. You're not going to let paint get past that halfway point. Also, never use a good brush like that, even a larger size of a sable that is a high quality brush you want to last. Don't use them for washes. Don't use them for contrast paints unless the contrast. Actually, no. Period. Don't use them for contrast as well because those paints are formulated with mediums that help them kind of flow. And the same way it flows on your miniature, it flows on your brush, so it gets right into that ferrule.
Wow.
I was so
That was,
glad we had this conversation.
that was very informative.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
we
mean,
got to the bottom of it, Joe.
I pretty much just use that detail brush for literally everything. Not mixing paint in the airbrush though. I have a separate one to do that. Ooh,
So the same brush you use for the airbrush mixing, start using that for the rest of it.
okay. I did get a new airbrush because my Iwata, like, I don't know what was happening with it. Oh, geez. Wait, where is it? I'm not gonna really get it in time. The okay, the needle thread
Yeah.
the needle goes into was like cemented onto the needle, and that's happened before. You just gotta give it a little elbow grease with a pair of needle nose pliers. I could not remove this thing, and then even soaking it in paint thinner for like 3 days, no
Still
movement
though.
whatsoever. Did you
Yikes.
know the little tiny like millimeter metal tip on the end of the needle thread actually screws off?
Oh.
Like
So like
there's like the brass bulb and then the tiny little metal needle. That's like that screws into the bulb. There's like needle threads in there.
I did not know
There's screw
that.
threads. Well, I didn't either. But even with doing that, it was still just permanently destroyed. And then it got so bent up from me trying to remove the whole thing. And I mean, I've got probably over 1,000 hours on that Iwata, so I was just like, you know what, it's time.
Yeah.
Getting a new one, and wow, it's like getting in a brand new car. I was like, oh, this is how it's supposed to
Truly.
feel.
Truly. Yeah, because it's like it's that incremental enshittification of your tool that you don't notice day by day. But like, yeah, the delta's big. So did you end up with another Iwata, I assume?
Oh yeah, yep.
Ah.
And I am
I
glad I
said
did
that
it.
very confidently because I know that you are very happy with the Iwata as a whole.
Yes, I even tried to. I was like, I was really pressed for time to get some of these scourges done, which ended up not being an issue. I was supposed to go to an RTT, and once again, this is like the fourth time in a row. Work said, no, you may not leave. So didn't end up getting to go anyway. But I even brought out my what's the one you use? The super nice one. The harder steam
steam
deck.
one. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, and apparently the same thing had happened to that maybe like 2 years ago when I last used it, and I just forgot about it. So that thing was equally effed. I think I just need to replace the needle and needle thread on
And
that though.
yeah, the needle and the what's the word I'm looking for? The nozzle thing.
Yeah, the little brass
Yeah.
bulb that the needle feeds into. But
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like bubbling back up through the paint pot, which is
Yeah.
no good.
That is blockage for sure. Well, I'm happy that you're getting because you I've seen your tools. You deserve new tools. I'm happy you're getting them. I am going to make sure that you take care of them, Joe.
Okay.
We're in this together, friend.
All right.
I think that could be like a segment of the show is like hobby accountability with Joe and Cass.
Uh,
Okay,
um,
I feel like you feel personally attacked, so let's go on.
yeah.
I also really like your gems.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. If there is a little bulb on an Eldar model, I'm painting it as a gem.
Damn, Skippy. I do the
Yeah.
same, so I appreciate the attention to detail.
Yeah. I just look at it as like a little like pocket of poison that they have in there, you know.
It's very Drukhari appropriate.
And
Oh man, that looks
yeah.
cool, Joe.
Yeah, that was actually not even that hard to do. I did that in like 20 minutes. I was really impressed. So I've got like 6 other sales to do that on, and I have to do it on the flip side of that one. But yeah, just making some sales out of skin.
As you do as a Drukhari.
So yeah, just do a little freehand on there. I mean, Yeah, it was actually pretty simple. Just just drawing this the like the crease,
Hmm.
like the cut where the pieces would come together, and then just with the base color, which is the cavalry brown, and just airbrushed a little. I actually went to. I didn't even realize I was using the wrong skin tone color. I used my highlight instead of the what I normally do. So, but it made it a little more jarring on the edges here. But
It's
yeah,
nice.
just
I
cut some
bet it
lines in
looks.
there.
I bet that jarringness looks fantastic on the table. I bet you that like really
Yeah.
pops.
I also need to probably magnetize these sails because if I ever have to fly with this army, that seems like it would be physically impossible with raiders.
Mm, that I so as someone who has a Drukari army who magnetized all of the sails because I was using foam, if I could do it again, I would not. I would
Oh,
glue the
really?
bases. I would keep them whole. I would magnetize the bases, and I'd use a case like I use now, and that's just what I do. I think
Oh,
there's a whole episode that we could do this around, but like flying with your miniatures. I was actually because I'm trying to like see how much room I have to put Harpsters T-Sons with me.
what's up, Mr. James?
Hello, Nicholas. So like this is what I fly with. This is my carry-on,
Okay.
and this is magnetized. like I'll turn this. Okay, there's other stuff in there, but I would otherwise turn this upside down too. Um, if you can, I would put every single Raider and Venom in something like this because it's not
I
going anywhere.
I have a tableware case, but yeah, I don't use like super strong magnets because then I feel like, especially with like Drukari and Harlequin's models, if you go to pull them off the magnetic
Ye-
base, they come off
so
their
so
base.
you just have to change that motion because like these are the magnets that I use really big heckin' like it's hard to see. I don't know what to pull for scale, but like big freaking magnets. Because I don't ever pull them off. You slide them off because
Okay.
otherwise, yeah, you're destroying your stuff. But
Yeah,
I feel like there's a
my
whole episode there on flying with minis though that we could do.
yeah, we probably will do that at this point sometime this
Because
year.
myself and Noah have a lot of experience and we have different approaches too. And like I mean like I'm very pedantic about how I approach traveling with my minis.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Yeah, I so again, I would just magnetize the bases and I would carry them with magnets because foam is the death of a Drukari model. Spikes, bro,
Yes.
spikes.
Indeed.
Indeed.
All right, buddy. Wow, that was a lot of hobby progress.
Yeah, it's good. It's been a minute. It's been a minute. So
All
Wet
right.
Coast GT. Wet Coast is like it's got such a special place in my heart, this tournament. So good friend Dan Miner, who is like the reason that people in British Columbia, Vancouver area have tournaments. Honestly, the guy's a gem. Absolutely love Dan. He has put on or been responsible for so many of our events, and Wet Coast was kind of the flagship one. And during COVID, we lost the venue that Wet Coast was at,
Ooh.
and so it hasn't happened since COVID. And now, why Wet Coast is special to me? I It was my first best painted army award, and I got that with my
Ooh.
Drukari. So very fitting that we're talking about
Oh man.
Drukari. Yeah. So this was like a while back. I kind of I was playing at a different tournament. I played against Tak Kawana of Play on Tabletop fame, and like I loved his Ultramarines army. Funny enough, which is why I now have an Ultramarines army. It's all connected. But Tak was admiring my army, which was a work in progress. I was admiring his army. He's like, airbrush, bro, it's easy. So I taught myself how to airbrush on this army. But he won best painted at the tournament we were talking at, which was another dead tournament now, Attack X. And he was
Ooh,
like,
I've heard of that.
you know, he's like, are you going to Wet Coast? Like, you should try to win best painted. I was like, you know what? I am gonna win best painted. And I went to town and I like made my first big garish display tray, and I did all this airbrush stencil work and really upped my game, and I won best painted there. So like Wet Coast will always have a very special place in my heart. And then it was gone for 4 years, and this
Wow.
was the first one back. So excited. It was just shy of 170 people. I want to say, I think we started day one with 167 people. So
BCP has it at 164.
164. There you go.
Okay.
I was close. I was close. So 164 person event, 6 rounds on GW terrain formats. My two least favorite GW terrain setups. Day one was all setup number one. Day two was all setup number four, but all
Which
good.
is the one with the box in the middle.
Thunderdome is setup number one, which is what we
Okay.
played all of day one.
All
So
right.
yeah, that one's very much my least favorite, but that's just because of the army I play. I don't actually have a judgment against. I really like the GW layouts, and having now played a bunch of WTC layouts, I still think I think the GW ones hold up. You just kind of have to know what you're going into. You know, you can't take the same armies on both formats and expect them to perform the same necessarily. But I digress. So Wet Coast. I had 6 amazing games with 6 amazing opponents. Um, I don't think I won't necessarily go deep dive into each game, but I think we have some pictures. Um,
Yes, we do. Oh, here's your list.
yeah, so my list. If you've heard me talk about any of my past events in the last couple months, it's not changed except for one minor tweak. So it's still Calgar with the Harm Assist, the Blade Driven Deep, with the Eradicator Squad. I'm loving that unit. I got my company heroes with Uriel Ventress in them. Loving that unit. Big old Centurion Devastator Squad, freshly painted. 6 of them every time. I've got a small Eradicator Squad, and then a Bolter Inceptor Squad of 3, 2 6-man Plasma Inceptors, Calidus Assassin, Inquisitorial Henchman, and then 2 Scout Squads. The loadout on the Scout Squads I changed to be heavy bolters rather than missile launchers. Honestly, it made no difference. I rarely shoot them anyway. But I think what the heavy bolters do, the reason why I theoretically like this better is I'm not trying to shoot anything real with scouts. What I'm trying to often do is kill your chaff, and heavy bolters just do that better, especially with the sustained hits. So, and also that's how I modeled my new scouts. So that's kind of why the change.
Can they
But
all take sniper rifles still or no?
no, only one can take sniper.
Oh, interesting.
That's
Okay.
why you'll always just see one sniper rifle, one heavy weapon, and I put a chainsword on the sergeant instead of a bolter because I figure, you know what, the extra shots from the heavy bolter kind of make up for that loss of a couple bolter shots, and then the chainsword actually made a difference in chaff killing in combat because AP1, which is such a big difference. But yeah, I mean, honestly, something my good friend Anthony Vanella says is don't fuck with your lists. Just get the reps in. And I this is a spoiler alert, I guess, but I did not win the event, and I had so many people ask me are you going to change anything in the list? Probably not. I'm very happy with this list. The mistakes I made were me, not the list. So.
Yeah, and then you have a Calidus Assassin and some Inquisitorial Jabronis.
Yeah, and those jabronis are excellent at closing the gap between where I like my company heroes standing on an objective and the back quarter. So they just screen out, and they will. They are so good at investigating that particular signal. That's about all they do. That's
Okay.
about all they do. Yeah, so that's usually just it. But yeah, no qualms with the list.
All right. Oh, we have are you, Kaz, are you quiet?
I don't know. I mean, Miles knows me, so he's used to me being a loud individual. But
Oh, okay.
here, I cranked up the volume on my mic, Miles, just for you.
So, round one, you played against Alex Conn, Conn.
Alex Kahn. Yeah, so I played against his Tyrannid army. I think this is round one. Yeah.
Yep.
Kent,
He, let's see.
so I think I need to be louder and you need to be more brought down a peg volume wise.
Very good. Thank you, Cooler. Appreciate it. All right. So, Mr. Khan's Tyranids list. This is a Synaptic Nexus detachment, which I believe is the Zoanthrope themed one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's this is the I want to say has become the standard. Um but yeah, I we played a great this was such a wonderful game and kind of woke me up in a very violent way. Like this was round one. I hadn't gotten reps in a while since the last tournament I played basically.
Okay.
And so I set up against Alex. He seems to know what he's doing. Like he's not making any obvious mistakes.
You want me to run through his list real quick?
Yeah, please do. Please do.
He has Death Leaper, an old One Eye, a Walking Hive Tyrant, who is the Warlord with Synaptic Control, a Neuro Tyrant with Psychostatic Disruption. I'm assuming these are enhancements.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. 10 gargoyles. 10 gargoyles. I heard they're pretty good.
We'll get to those gargoyles. God damn gargoyles.
But a single Biovore, a Neurolictor, a single Pyrovore, 3 Raveners, 3 Von Ryan Sleepers, Malceptor, and 2 Norn Emissaries, which are the brainy ones.
They're the chunky ones that sit on an objective,
Okay.
have a feel no pain, and OC 15, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah, they're tough. So, I'm not going to go play by play, but I just got to say, Alex played a phenomenal game. He kept me on my toes, and I made a couple mistakes, and he punished me for every single one of them. I'm like, oh, god damn. I'm going to, for 2 turns of this game, I'm like, I'm losing. I am losing this game.
What mission was this again?
This would have been...
I see 4 center objectives.
Yeah, so this was priority targets.
Okay.
So, I'm not really incentivized to go, aggressive and try to take objectives away from him. I'm trying to do my thing and score while chipping away at his stuff. And, of course, the one play that really messed me up, at one point in the game, he just, he's looking at how much OC he asks me, how many OC do you have on your home objective? I do the math. I've got 6 OC on there. He's like, cool. I'm rapid ingressing these gargoyles right to that kind of stage behind that ruin in the center. And I'm like, okay, well, shit. I look, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely taking that objective back from me. And it was just like death by 1,000 cuts. And I think that's kind of how Tyranids have to play these days because they're not in a great place. But ultimately, it came down to a bit of a bloody melee in the center where Calgar's unit went superhero mode. I didn't throw him away. I didn't go, hit the go button too early. So I killed enough of his big Griblies in the middle for Calgar to kind of just take that center part. But at the very end of the game, we were, this should show you how sweaty of a game it was. I completely forgot to pick up my Centurions, and I pulled my secondaries, and I'm like, shoot. And he's like, I'm kind of thinking out loud, I really should have picked them up. He's like, yeah, but you drew your secondaries. I'm like, I did. So let's see what I can do here. And I'm looking at the board state. He's going second, right? So he can go and score on that. This is the one where you score 5 points per objective you hold at the end of the game. But if you go second, you're still only scoring in your command phase. It's not at the end of the turn. So I move blocked a bunch of stuff. He had his big monsters, like one of his Norns, and I want to say a Maliceptor on that bottom right objective by the end of the game. And that was about it. I got like a crazy. Actually, I had Capture Enemy Outpost and I discarded it because I was like, it's not going to happen. But Calgar's unit like promptly yeeted themselves forward 11 inches and killed one thing with shooting, charged on his home objective, killed his Biovore, and took that home objective from him. So he didn't see that coming, but I move blocked a bunch of stuff, and he made a charge on the very last turn with his Maliceptor, but like failed to kill my Calidus assassin by 1 wound, and it was a very close game. I think I had max primary. He was off by 5, and then he actually beat me 27-26 on secondaries. So it was a 4-point game, and I was just like,
Wow.
okay, kid, you kept me on my back heel, and like that woke me up better than any cup of coffee could. So, Alex, well played, sir. Well played. I think the next photo I have is a picture with him. Yeah, there we go. So this was Alex. Yeah, just an absolute gem of an opponent. Really fun guy to play. Totally like the sportsmanship in this game was great, but he also just made me sweat. Like every mistake I was making, man, he got me. So
What is this
Well-
Batman style utility belt that you have on?
Joe, you've seen my belt of battle.
I don't remember that.
I wore
you had
it
a
at.
you had a fanny pack, I thought.
It's the belt of battle. It's the belt of battle.
Okay.
So-
Why are there so many pouches?
So the one on the right is my main. Yeah, it is my nerd belt, Miles. The one on the right is where I got most of my dice, and I've got different pockets with pre-counted amounts of dice because playing on a clock sometimes you need that, especially if you've got a large volume of attacks. On the left, I've got a big bag with like my generic tokens, and I've got wound counters in the 2 little ones. I'm ready to go.
Okay.
I'm always ready to go. Plus, I am the Batman of 40k. I've got the raspy voice. I've got the utility belt. You know,
Well, what
It's
is your stance on justice?
I am very aggressively pro justice.
Okay.
Very aggressive.
I've never seen you and Batman in the same room together, so
True facts.
Yeah.
True facts. So that was game 1. Game 2, I was having too much fun. I didn't take pictures, but he's in the chat. So Nicholas James, who was my former apprentice, actually, him and I squared off, and he is running a really interesting list. So let's go over that list, Joe.
Yeah.
If you got it.
this is Astra Militarum. We have a Commissar, Gaunt's Ghosts, which is a massively large unit with lots of rules and random items attached to it.
If there's a special rule in the game, Gaunt's Ghosts have it. Period.
I've actually never read a Gaunt's Ghost book, so I've heard they're very good.
I read them when I was a kid, but I could probably do with a reread.
We have a Militarum Tempestus Command Squad, which is the Warlord, and we have Grand Strategist on the Prime, the dude leading it. Another Tempestus Command Squad with Drill Commander. A third Tempestus Command Squad with Kurav Aquila. 3 Primaris Psychers and Ursula Creed. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Scions units with Melta and plasma guns. That's a lot of dudes. Can all these guys deep strike?
They can, but they don't in this list.
Okay. 3 Torox Primes, a unit of Rough Riders, a Ogren Bodyguard, 2 Ogren Bodyguards, a Calidus Assassin, and Lord Inquisitor Kyra Draxus, who is the Eldar enthusiast.
She is best shuriken weapon in the game.
Yes, it is. For some reason.
Elves love when you point that one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Here's it straight from the horse's mouth. They deep strike back. So once you kill them, when they pop out of their transports, that's how
Okay.
they get back on the table. But what mission were we playing? I forget. Let's see. We were playing. Oh, we were playing the ritual. Um,
Ooh.
so yes, it's all coming back to me now. So Nicholas is a good player,
Oh,
and
Nick says I have to say the name of the list, which is Rats, Rats with Melta from the Sky.
that is all very accurate. It's exactly that. And I, Dan, you do this to yourself. I was in high school, I believe, when the God's Coast books came
Ooh.
out. Sorry, Dan, that wasn't personal. I love you. So, yeah, this game. I mean, the TLDR on this game. The name of the list is very accurate. Rats with Malta. Um, so Nicholas kind of came at me. We got Rough Riders in my face pretty early, and was playing aggressively. Like he was trying to kill my stuff, and I see why. Because if you start losing the material war against an army like this, where they can bring stuff back, you're losing the game. Um, but I also just decided that I did not have to respect his army whatsoever. So he kind of threw his stuff at me. I killed one unit round one, and then 2 CP that unit came back, and I said, "Uh-huh." And it's funny because I had this moment where I went second in this game. I had this moment where like looking at the board state, I'm like, why am I losing? Like how is this happening? Oh yeah, I have 15 Inceptors. Boom. And then I killed half his army, and then I killed the other half the next round, basically. It was like, oh, haha, yeah, right.
Wow.
Nicholas, if I'm misrepresenting the game in any way, please, by all means, pipe up. But that was about how I recall it. Um, it was it was closer on the table. It felt closer on the table than it looked on the scoreboard, but we ended out, it's a fast army like mine. Tabling you by turn 3 is gonna score pretty well. So, ended up with a 95 to a 22 or 32. Sorry, 95-32 is the final score there. And that took me to game 3, which was my first, but not my last, game against the dreaded Necrons.
Oh, and this is Peter
Yeah,
Piccioni. I'm guessing
yeah.
a Paisano, fellow Paisano
Very,
there.
very much so, at least in spirit.
Okay.
Peter was an excellent opponent. We had a really fun game. It was our first time meeting each other, but we had a lot of mutual friends, so it like immediately the trust was there, which I gotta say it's so important in a game of 40k. Like especially the last game of the day when you're both kind of running on fumes. This was a game where like we both were very open to take backs or like so you did this right, like you're not stepping into this gotcha, right? Good, sounds good. So it was very sportsmanly game. Peter was playing Canoptic Court, and Peter did what Canoptic Court does, and he shoved all of his stuff on objectives and dared me to come shoot it. So do you want to
Yeah.
go over the list, Joe?
Yes, he is a Nightbringer, a Void Dragon, a Hexmark Destroyer, 3 Technomancers, one of which is a Warlord, Auto Divinator, Dimensional Sanctum, and Hyperphasic Fulcrum. I have no idea what any of these Necron words mean, um, but I'm sure they
Nope,
do stuff.
nobody does, Joe. Nobody does.
This is technology that's been buried for hundreds of millennia after they lost the war in heaven. So, to the Eldar, just saying. Transcendent Satan.
Shots fired. Shurikens fired, baby.
Transcendent Satan with no upgrades. I don't know. Can you give them upgrades?
No,
I don't think you can anymore. Okay.
no.
Death marks, who notably shoot you when you come out of deep strike, or when they come out of deep strike, or when you come out. They follow
You
you
come out.
in. Okay.
Yeah. They just, I think they get a free Overwatch that hits on twos.
Okay, gotcha.
Something like that.
Because they used to follow you out of deep strike. Yes.
I remember.
Yes. 3 Canoptic Scarab Swarms. 2 single Locust Destroyers, which are the floaty guys. A unit of Tomb Blades. And maximum Wraiths. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Notably,
Maximum
are
Wraiths.
beasts. I did not realize that.
Yeah, but the shtick is that they also like not so much for this list, more for the hyper crypt monolith type. If you put the character attached to him, he's infantry, so they gain the infantry keyword. So the monolith can pull them back, but if you snipe the character out, they are now beasts and can no longer be pulled back. Didn't come up in this game, different list, but just a thing to note. So, I mean, there wasn't like candidly, this type of list is boring to play and play against. It's a great thing that Peter was such a fun opponent because we had a great time. But like, my God, can you kill a full unit of wraiths on an objective? Yes, cool. Can you kill a Satan? Yes, you win the game. No, you lose the game. I can. It took a lot of use of the grenade strat, a lot of use of eradicators getting within melter range. Because one of the tricky things he does in this list is they have a reactive move if you land within 9 of them. Not not deep strike, but if you move and a normal move within 9, they can move 6 inches. And they also have a 1 CP strat that gives a canoptic unit, so wraiths, lone up. So if you can play around that, then you're in a good shape. My Centurions did not do nearly as much this game because you got to think about it, right? We're playing in Thunderdome, and he's got the ability to move if I move when I'm within 9 inches of him, and he's got the ability to lone up. So more often than not, the Centurions just kind of shot whatever they could. They're not particularly great into Satan, so occasionally it was shooting at a Satan, but between them, the Eradicators, and the Inceptors, I was able to chew through just enough. It was a sweaty game. It was a tight game, but I did end up pulling out the W with a 90-78. He
Wow.
was just running out of steam by the end of it, and I had killed enough stuff. And that's the thing with my army is I can be, while I'm killing you, I can still be scoring my secondaries. I can still be everywhere I want to be if you've let me keep certain units.
So did you snipe out these Technomancers at any point?
I did in combat once, I think, but the problem is Peter's a good player, so I rarely could see the Technomancers, so the strats don't work. But I just kind of bullied my way through them. Inceptors with 3 damage are good at it. I've got the Eradicators in short range. If you oath a unit, they're doing so much excess damage that the 5-up feel no pain. It's swingy. They can roll decently. But in this case, it just, I just had enough firepower to kind of chew through all of the defenses altogether. I will say this was my first game against Canoptic. I theoretically knew how to play the game, but man, they get a lot of rerolls. I am not used to Necrons actually hurting me back that much, just because of the styles that I faced. So it was an interesting game. I learned a lot, had a great time. Peter's a good opponent. But yeah.
Just the Wraiths were just doing the damage, or the Satan as well?
The Satan, the Wraiths, I mean, the Wraiths had all the rerolls, so the Wraiths were actually violent and doing damage, which isn't what I'm used to. It's usually a tickle fight with Wraiths, but, as Dan pointed out, I won that stat check, so huzzah. So yeah, that was game 3.
Okay.
And then that was the end of day 1, which was a very successful day 1. 3-0. Can't get better than that. Yeah. So
Now,
sorry, go ahead.
day 2, the terrain format changed, you said?
Yeah, so we went from layout 1 to layout 4. And I think the next photo that I've got is, so this is my game 1, day 2, or game 4, once again against Necrons. So this time I was racked up against a man who I know very well, Josh Bagwell. I do find it very funny because Josh Bagwell is who I got the idea of the Belt of Battle from. I mean, he bags well, but he only has one. He's not as extra as I am. Miles, stop it. Stop talking. Yeah. So Miles was the judge, and he kept taunting me about this. So I'm about to just kick you off, Miles. Stop now. You should have stopped then. But he's not wrong, unfortunately, as much as I wish. So the problem, and you know what? Fuck it. Here we go, Miles. Yeah, the Tesseract Vault, top right corner. This is a model I've never played against because it's one of those models where you're like, who's gonna bring this giant stupid thing that can barely move? And Josh is a good player, so I'm at the beginning of the round I'm like, oh, what the hell is this nonsense? It's got to be good. He's gone undefeated. It's Josh. I cannot sleep on this opponent. So, I look at what it does. Okay, it's got an indirect shooting attack. And I just sort of wrote it off. So why don't you read the rest of the list before I regale you with my trauma?
Okay, this is Hypercrypt Legion. The name of the list is Wet V7. It is a Nightbringer, a Void Dragon, a Hexmark Destroyer, 2 Technomancers, no upgrades.
Didn't need them.
Who? Oh, okay. The Hexmark Destroyer is the Warlord. So he's the one barking the orders here. Canoptic Reanimator, 1 Canoptic Spider. Is that that's the dude who goes around and repairs the
vehicles.
Other squads. Okay, I remember that guy. 12 Wraiths, a unit of Death Marks. A Doomsday Arc, which is the is that the flying? Is that the one that's the flyer that's flipped on its side?
No, if you can kind of see it in the bottom right. It's the arc with the big gun instead of transport capacity.
Okay. Yeah, it's not the transport. It's the It's the one that is built out of the Ghost Arc. Okay.
Correct.
Locust Destroyers, a single Locust Destroyer, and a 400-point Tesseract Vault.
Do not underestimate this very gorgeous model.
It is armed with an antimatter meteor.
It has other things too, and markedly one of them is anti-character 4-up, which means if there's a character in the unit, it wounds you on a 4-up. So, but all that aside, we're not even gonna talk about any of the other stuff that it can do other than the antimatter meteor. So,
okay.
Yeah, because it didn't come into play. Yet I would strongly say in a turn of events, it won Josh the game. So I kind of disrespected it. And that was my mistake. Because the thing is only range 24. Granted, that behemoth of a model is, I want to say it's 10 inches by 10 inches. Or maybe even 12 by 12. It's massive.
I mean, it is the biggest thing on the board, including the terrain pieces. It appears.
Absolutely. And honestly, this is probably the worst layout to face indirect against, because this layout gives you the safest little hidey hole for even something that big. He moved up. He got first turn.
What mission is this?
This is vital ground. So the center objective is gone, and our home objectives are only worth 2. So this is probably the worst mission for me to face this army on, and arguably one of the worst layouts. So like those things are working against me. But you know what? I played a lot against Hypercrypt. I know the matchup. I'm generally pretty good at it. So I felt okay, all things considered. I shouldn't have. So what I should have done, in hindsight, is I should have pre-measured how far that thing could move, added 24 inches, pre-measured, and not put anything within range of the indirect. Why I say that is that I can make up primary points so long, like in the back half of the game, so long as I have material left to do it. Turn 1, he goes first. He moves up and just kills half of Calgar's unit.
Ow.
Just kills him. Just one fell swoop. And, you know, I think that I feel like I failed my battle shock, you know, because I kind of looked at that and said, well, if I don't use this unit right now, and I put myself in a position where, like, what was I going to do? Run backwards? You know, maybe I should have, but I decided, no, I think the only thing I can really do is hit go. So he moved those rates down kind of in the center, and the remainder of Calgar's unit went for it. I got 2 multi-meltas and a melta rifle within the melta range. I rolled a pretty good advance. So they were all within melta range of the Nightbringer. I threw a grenade, and every single round I threw a grenade at a Satan. Every single round. Every single time I only rolled 2 4-ups. Every single time, except for one time, he saved one of them. That one time, he saved both of them. So that was a bad start. And then I shot all my Melta into him in Melta range. And he saved it all. And I was like, oh no. I think maybe one went through, actually. In the charge phase, I saw a charge because he had his wraiths strung out. And he had the Technomancer in the ruin. If I roll a 7 on 2 dice, which is average, I could have charged that unit in such a way that Calgar got to go see that Technomancer and kill him. And I'm going deeper in his lines. I'm kind of wrapping up that unit. And if he pulls out and just shoots me to death, that's, you know, I'm losing that unit anyway in my mind, right? So I'm getting some good return. I'm killing the character from the squad, and I'm forcing him to focus on his home objective. I rolled a 6, which meant that he could heroically intervene me with the Satan. He doesn't kill Calgar. He kills a bunch of my guys, though. Calgar makes a bunch of his feel no pains because the unit is now dead.
Which Satan was this?
This was the Nightbringer. This is the one you don't want to be fighting in combat.
Yes. Yes.
And then Calgar went hero mode and, like, took him down to 1 wound. And it was awesome. Or it might have been over the course of his combat phase as well. But Calgar didn't just immediately die. Took him down to 1 wound. And then, like, after another round, I think he finally, he bit it. So that put me in a pretty bad deficit. I played a really cagey game around him where I, like, rapid ingressed in scepters in 24.1 inches away from that Tesseract vault on an objective to keep myself in the game primary wise. Like, it started getting really scrappy. Turn 1, I will say, his Doomsday Ark had poked its head out, and 3 of those Centurions walked into that ruin, had line of sight, and blew it to shreds, which was rewarding. But then, like, you know, before I know it, there's Satan everywhere. There's wraiths everywhere. And the Nightbringer came back when he was fully healed up. And I, like, took him down to 1 wound again on a turn where I got to bring it down. Eventually killed him. I think I took him down to 1. He killed a bunch of stuff, healed back up, and then I finally killed him. So to kill that bloody Nightbringer, I had to take him down to 1 wound 3 times. And if that happens to you in a game against Necrons, you've lost. Is what I've learned. So, and candidly, like my army does really well when you make mistakes, and Josh played a damn near perfect game. So kudos, Mr. Bagwell. It was a win for the Hypercrypt, 70-57.
Wow.
Yeah.
Brutal. I mean, that's such an expenditure of resources to bring it down to 1 and then to have it heal back up and have to do it all over again. That's just
Yeah, I'm
very
not gonna
painful.
lie. I'm very glad that it was Josh because Josh is my friend and I know Josh, and so he knew I wasn't angry at him. I was angry at his Satan, and at my dice. If you've ever played Josh too, he will apologize for killing your stuff, and it's just the most adorable, hilarious thing ever. So, Josh, you're a treat, and I hate your Satan.
Fun fact, Cass, did you know that the Nightbringer, back during the War in Heaven, got into a fight with Magan Ra, and I don't know exactly, I'm shortening this up quite a bit, but their souls intertwined, and that's why he looks like the Grim Reaper. Because Magan Ra's aspect of the Dark Reapers mixed with his spirit.
Man, that is really cool. I will say Magan Ra is like my favorite Eldar model. Period. Full
Oh,
stop.
he looks so amazing. He just has been not super great since he came out, unfortunately.
No, but he's pretty. I might buy him just to paint him. But yeah, that's it's a fun fact. But I hate the Nightbringer. So
Very good. All right. So then round 5, you're into Jason Ryder.
yeah. So I wish I took pictures of this. This is where you can tell Cass is getting tired because Jason has a really, really gorgeous Iron Warriors army. It is an interesting list to say the least.
It is Blood and Iron. He has 3 Warp Smiths, all dedicated to Papa Nurgle. That's all of his characters, Warp Smiths. 1, 2, 3 units of cultists, also dedicated to Nurgle. Excuse me. Then we have a Hellbrute, also dedicated to Nurgle. And then 3 Lord of Skulls. Here we go.
Yeah.
Oh, and then a Noctilith Crown.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I don't even know what it does.
It gives a 4-up invuln if you're wholly within 9 inches.
Wow.
And so, you know, you can extrapolate off of this photo with the Necrons, right? So this is the layout we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
But it is now Scorched Earth, so we're trying to burn objectives and hold 2. And it is Dawn of War. So Jason more or less castled up. Like he had the Noctilith Crown down in that corner, like behind where that ruin is. And then he just had 3 Lord of Skulls be in that little thing because all he has to do is because they're towering, right? So he just has to poke his toe out,
right?
And then he's got line of sight. He couldn't quite hide all of them turn 1, but like it was pretty close. And so he's just got this like this castle of death. And I misunderstood him. We were both really tired. It was really loud in the hall. I thought he said it's 16-inch range. I've never faced a Lord of Skulls. I'm like, how? What does this thing do? He's like, no, I said 6-0. I'm like, oh shoot, okay, because I shot at him with those Centurions, like from as far away as I could, but he shot back and like killed a couple of them like in one go. I'm like, oh no, okay, I don't want to do this, like, but you know what? The Centurions are in it, so who cares? So I just kind of like sat there shooting Centurions at him, trying to limit the number of Lord of Skulls that could shoot at my sense. But then I realized, like, wait a minute. I think I can score pretty similarly to you on primary on this one, because I was getting my 10 points. You only need to hold 2, and so I'm like, I think I'm getting 40 on primary, and you might get 45. You're not burning my home objective, so you might get 45, but I think I can beat you in secondaries. And I was right. He got some pretty awful draws. But here's the thing with tactical secondaries. Like when most of your army is 3 Lord of Skulls, in a corner trying to shoot me, and I'm like this, fast, sort of hard to catch Space Marine army. Like, I'm gonna have more board presence than you, and that's what you really need to score secondaries. And like, his draws just were exactly the thing he didn't want right at the wrong time. So I banked on, I'm gonna play this super cagey. I am gonna engage only when I have to. I basically kept Calgar's unit actually where it is on this photo as well, just projecting threat. And then when he decided to like come at me, I did the shenanigans that you can do with this, with the Vanguard list, with the scouts fleeing when they're charged and intertwining into another unit. At one point, actually, he was a great opponent. We were talking back and forth a lot about like, so remember, I can do this janky thing, and he's looking at it and he's like, so if I charge just them, you're gonna do this. If I charge both, you're gonna do this. He's like, this is quite the puzzle. I'm like, I know. So he decided, okay, I'm gonna charge both units, and it allowed me to like take away an area denial too. A little bit of insult to injury, but by that point of the game, I think at the end of the game, I'd killed one of the Lord of Skulls and the Hellbrute. That's about it. And
Wow.
he pretty much killed like the Calgar unit. I think even my company heroes. He killed a lot, but at the end of the game, I got a 40 on primary, he got a 45. I got a 38 on secondary, and he got a 21. So I got an 88-76 win. It was kind of funny too. Like you could tell we were both mentally exhausted, and it's game 5. That's normally the last game of a GT, so we're both kind of exhausted. And the table was in like this one corner that was lit a bit dimmer than the rest of the hall, and we were in a corner, so it was a bit more quiet. It was kind of nice. It was kind of a chill game. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not pressing the gas. Like, I'm just gonna hide behind these walls and score my points. You do you, Jace. You do you. But great game. And like, I wish I took a picture because he's got LEDs in all three of the Lord of Skulls. He's got like blood pools with skulls. I did have the positive experience of getting to paint judge this army last event at Cascade Clash.
Oh, nice.
So because he was there as well. But yeah, great game. Super fun. Big stompy Lord of Skulls are
not
terrifying.
stompy.
No, but they are stompy. I just didn't let him get in combat. They're also...
They don't have legs. They run you over.
I guess that's true.
These things also explode for D6 plus 2 mortal wounds.
Yeah, actually, that was the funny thing. I blew it up, and then I think it did more damage to his own stuff than I did to it. Like,
oh,
it was amazing. Nice. It didn't matter in the end. Like, I was already gonna kill the Hellbrute, but it like did 6 solid wounds to like everything around it. It was awesome. I could see that seems like a really fun army because like, man, 6 games of playing Vanguard or Hypercrypt or something like that, like your ears are smoking. Your brain is like goo. So, I get the appeal of pushing around 3 big robots that shoot like the apocalypse. So, yeah.
Right. And then round 6 against Adam Green.
Yeah, so Adam is a lovely, lovely, and very talented individual. Fellow Team Canada player, and he was playing a pretty feisty guard list.
What mission was this?
So this was Purge. So hold 1, hold more, kill 1, kill more.
Yes, my least favorite mission. Maybe Servo Skulls, but
Servo Skulls isn't real. But yeah, of the real missions, it's also my least favorite mission.
Yeah. Okay. This name of his list is Triple Manticore or not to Triple Manticore, and then in parentheses, also I hope Donald Plummer doesn't bring us down again.
He did. For the record.
Okay. He has a Cadian Castellan. I'm not sure. Is that just a dude? Is it just a named Cadian character? Like a
I don't remember. I mean, he had.
He's got a power plasma pistol and a power fist. I'm just assuming that's just like a
yes.
commander, basically.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
okay.
Just a dude.
Gaunt's Ghost as well. Lord Solar Leontis, a Tempestus command squad. A Take Commander with a Demolisher Cannon and 2 Multi-Meltas and Grand Strategist upgrade. Ursula Creed, 1 Infantry Squad, 1 Chimera, a Basilisk, 2 6-man Bulgrin squads. Wow.
A lot of beef.
Those are some beefy boys. And they all have Brute Shields. Those are the 4-up invulnerable save.
That's right.
I believe. Okay. Yep. I like how the other one looks, the slab shield. And then Casterkin, 2 Manticores. Wow, this list just keeps going on and on and on.
Yes,
Scout Sentinel,
like
Scout
that
Sentinel,
on the table too.
and 1 unit of Scions. Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
So, yeah, it is a lot of stuff. It's quite an optimized version of the like good guard lists, and in the hands of a really good player too. Adam is phenomenal. Love the guy too. Just a great time. Like, which again, thank God. Like round 6, if you're not in contention to win the thing, like you just hope you have an opponent that you enjoy. So, and despite both of us being on Team Canada and having played at various tournaments that we both attended, this was our first game. So it was kind of fun to.
Local to your area?
So he's in Calgary. So he's one province over.
Okay.
But he does travel for work. So sometimes we'll bump into each other at the same tournaments. But 2 very pivotal things happened that made this an extremely uphill battle for me. The first one was Adam won the roll-off for attacker-defender. And he promptly deployed Gaunt's Ghosts in a line stretched across the middle of
what a hero.
So he basically said, that's cute that like 80% of your strategy revolves around you infiltrating. It's not going to work. Because he blocked me out of any good spots. It was impressive. But that resulted in Calgar's unit being very much out of position. And then the second horrible thing that happened for me was I went first. It's completely the opposite of what I want, because what that means in a kill more, he has perfect information of what he needs to kill to get more points than me. And it also prevents me from picking up a unit and redeploying it turn 1. I'm not going to get too much into this game, but yeah, it did end up like I did some novel things that I haven't done typically. Like at one point, because he was using the Basilisk to slow Calgar's unit. On a unit that advances and shoots and charges, making them -2 move and advance and charge really limits them. So at one point, I used the pick up and put down strat on them and brought them in 9 inches off or 6 inches off a board edge and attacked the base. But it was a little bit too little too late. He had already had turns of manticoring units to death and Kasra just killing a bunch of stuff. It went downhill very quickly.
What is it exactly that makes the Kasra so powerful?
Well, it's the 2 plasma, 2 melta. Okay. And they've got a bunch of rerolls. So they're hitting and wounding and killing stuff. Their hot shot weapons also have good AP.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just so many of them, Joe. There's so many of them. So they were a big part of it.
They don't teleport though, right? Like they used to.
They don't. I don't think they teleport. No, but when you kill them for 2 CP, they come back.
Oh, that's a damn good strategy.
I did line up one round. Like at one point, he had popped a Chimera onto that objective you see on the bottom right. It was a very similar layout to this game as well. So he had a Chimera there and a Kasra squad that came and very smartly turn 1, he was like, "You don't get scouts, Cass," and he killed both my scout units, which was the right call. Don't do that to me, people, because that's how you beat me. But Adam's, as I said, a very astute and good player. So right off the bat, he's like, "Nope, you don't get to have fun with your scouts." So he murdered them all. But I got tempting target and overwhelming force that turn. So I was like, okay, I'm bringing down Inceptors. I'm killing those 2 units that are on this objective. Like, let's go. But I made a point of shooting Centurion missiles into that Kasserkin unit, and I used the strat from Strike from Shadows because he had to take a Battle Shock test. Now he passed it, but if he fails that Battle Shock test and then I kill him, they're not coming back. So, I had a couple things, like I wasn't just brain dead by this point. I had a couple tricks up my sleeve. They just didn't really pan out. And there's only so much of that you can do against an army with very strong indirect. And it's funny that both of my losses came against armies with very strong indirect on table 4, layout 4, where they have a very well fortified hidey hole. Again, great game, great opponent. Well done, Adam. It's my army is not one that loses to Guard often. Guard is often a very good matchup for me, surprisingly, considering how good they're doing overall in the meta. But the combination of player, mission, attacker defender role, and me going first was just a little bit too much, and he beat me 93-73 in the end.
Ooh, wow.
So with all of that, I ended up in 20th place, which out of 164 people is not too bad. I've kicked myself over my losses a bit here and there, but overall, again, really good opponents, really good games. And I did win favorite army, while Noah won best painted. So a couple photos from the event. This is me and my friend and teammate, Alex McDougall. He did very well with GSC. He ended up at 10th place, so kudos.
Wow. Yes.
And then, actually, and behind me, I was trying to get... So behind me on his phone is my friend Trevor. So Trevor, I actually might invite him to join us. He couldn't make it today. I did invite him. But Trevor went 6-0 and only didn't win the tournament because
he was in second. Jeez.
With Grey Knights.
Wow.
And Trevor is relatively new into the scene. Him and I met each other at a local RTT that I attend. We always end up playing each other, and he's just a great guy, great opponent, just a great addition to our local community. So I wanted to get him on, and I will get him on to talk about kind of the experience of getting into Warhammer and basically taking down a Supermajor almost.
Yeah. I mean, going undefeated is pretty incredible. Yeah.
Huge.
Congrats, Trevor.
And then if you go to the next photo, we've got Noah and I celebrating. Best painted for him and favorite army for me.
You appear to be very surprised.
I'm having a good time. So, I think pretty fitting that the best overall boys at a tournament that didn't have best overall as one of the prizes. We won the 2 appearance-based awards. So
yes, you did. Were there any other big contenders for best painted that were in the top 20 above you?
I mean, honestly, it was a very good showing. I forget names again. And actually, my girlfriend, Sharon, was the photographer for the event. So I'm sure she has more pictures that maybe when my brain degooifies, I'll pull some other examples. But, there was a really cool Slanesh army that was there. Andrew Johnson's Votan are gorgeous. And, there was a lot of contenders. I normally am one of them. But my scouts I only got them to battle ready because I was insane and I tried to build and paint 10 scouts in 2 days. Turns out I can get them to battle ready from sprue,
Wow.
but not finished. So you know, I lost points on those guys not being done, and I kind of wasn't even in the top 3. But like, at least Lee and JT Steiger were there. They always do amazing work. Liam was there, and his army's coming together. He's finishing up some of the other pieces that weren't quite done. So it was some heavy hitters on the hobby side, and I gotta say, I love going to events and seeing like, oh, the last time I was here, the hobby level was here, and I was like clearly kind of just like moonwalking my way through it, and now it's here, and I'm not even on the podium, and that's awesome. Like, I love that, because it's testament to people caring more and applying themselves more and putting in that work, because like every aspect of this hobby is work, even sportsmanship. It's hard to not get tilted when, you know, every time you roll a grenade strat you only get 2, or
That is
you know,
a
for
sad
example,
panda.
exactly. So like every aspect of this hobby is hard work. So it was really cool to like see that bar being raised. Loved it. Yeah.
So this was a great, all in all, great tournament to go to.
Absolutely. I am so glad Wet Coast is back. Look at Noah's army. The Madman basically, like, we're going to let him, you know, come on and talk in detail about this, but like, the Madman basically took a Necron army and was like, this is my display tray now. And like the laser is shooting through the whatever the hell that flying
Doom Scythe, maybe? Something like that.
Doom Scythe, Doom Croissant, all the same, but like, that is the level of detail. Like, you've got Saving Private Sautek in the bottom left corner there. They're just being melted to goo. Amazing. I couldn't agree more with the best painted award there. Like, the models are gorgeously done up. But he didn't like sit on his laurels. He was like, cool, my models are done. I'm gonna make a display tray that's gonna make it pop. So loved it. Love to see it. And then this is me having a little sidebar chat congratulating my friend Daniel Knight, who had a really good showing with his Grey Knights as well. Yeah, not much to say about that. He's an excellent player. This is me and my friend Pierre. So Pierre came from Manitoba, in the middle of nowhere, as he puts it. He lives not close to any major cities. So like, he made the trek out. I was really happy to meet him in person. He typically is a fellow Ultramarine player, but Joe, you're gonna love this. He was playing orcs.
My man.
Yeah. So Pierre,
how many pigs in that list?
I don't recall. I don't know that he had any, but
all right, we'll work on that, Pierre.
I could be wrong. I've been wrong before, but yeah, that was the event. Had an absolutely great time, and now I prep myself for Battle for Salvation at the end of the month. I also am, still working on the Team Canada side of things. I did not make starting player, but I did make a coach position. So I will be on the coaching staff, traveling with the team to Belgium, which is very exciting. Yeah.
So
I've got
awesome.
a lot on my docket.
Yeah. Well, congrats on that, brother.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. I will say, I looked at the ITC points after this. I'm once again among the top of Space Marines. I'm best Ultramarine again for now. The competition is fierce. I'll take what I can get.
Oh, is that a thing they're tracking still, or is that still left over from last year?
It's 100% leftover that you can track it. It doesn't mean anything. It never has, actually, or it hasn't for the last like 3 editions. But yeah, no. If you go onto BCP's website under rankings, you can click on your ITC rankings, and then they do have a breakdown by faction. But because I actually play, like, to get to the Ultramarines one, you have to like click on my name or an Ultramarines player name.
Okay.
And then click on Ultramarines. So, hey, man, I'll take what I can get.
So, okay. So, where are you at in the rankings so far?
I mean, I haven't checked today, but earlier in the week, I was number 1 Ultramarine, number 3 Space Marine globally. And I've only got
Mm.
3 events showing, so not
Wow.
too shabby.
I can't get your name to come up for some reason. Oh well.
But yeah, I've got three events scored this year. I've got an RTT that I won, I've got a GT that I won, and then 20th place at a Supermajor.
My man. Well, you are still crushing it, brother.
Onward and upward. And now you're gonna go crush an RTT too.
Yeah, I got 2 RTTs this month, and then I signed up for Rocky Top, which is almost a super major that will be in Knoxville, Tennessee over Memorial Day weekend. So last weekend in May. So
Fantastic.
hopefully
Well,
the Dark Eldar will be totally up to snuff for that. So that'll be my
well,
first big tournament in a long time.
we will get you in good form for that one.
So I think we're wrapping up here. Please like and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that. To the handful of followers,
We
our
appreciate every
our
single one of you.
our elite handful of subscribers. Yeah. So hopefully Noah will be back next in 2 weeks. Anything else to add, brother?
No, that's it for me.
All right. Well, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Take care.